Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Binman. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up because today we are doing a dark blue smoky eye which is inspired by the cover of this week's book talk, so stay tuned. I've already washed my face and done my skincare, so let's get started by neutralizing the face. First, I'm going to take my corrector from Bobbi Brown in light to medium bisque. I'm going to take my ring finger and very gently just pat underneath the eye or anywhere where I'm seeing a little bit of discoloration. So that also includes this little spot right here, kind of on the side of the bridge of your nose, where we all get just a little purple, especially as we age. I was told once that there are some purple and blue veins that usually run right here on a person's face, and it just shows up as we continue to get a little bit older and our skin starts to thin out a little bit. Next thing I'm going to do is prep my eyelids with the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base. This has no color. I'm just going to split it between my ring fingers and I'm going to take it from the lash line all the way up to my brow. This is absolutely my favorite eyeshadow primer. I've not found anything else that works as well. It is just a beautiful, beautiful product. The next thing I'm going to do is take one of Lisa's seamless eye pencils, and this is in black, and I'm going to tightline my eyes. So I'm just really lightly picking up my upper lid and tightlining that pink skin that is right next to that lash line. And this just gives the illusion of a thicker lash line. It also fills in those gaps between the lashes that we may or may not get to with either a liner or with our mascara. So it's a great place to start, especially when you're doing a no makeup look or when you're going a little bit smokier like we are today. Because the focus is on the eyes and because I'm using a different kind of eyeshadow than I normally use, which is the DIOR Show 5 color palette, I'm going to start with the eyes right now. I don't need to do my complexion right now because again, the focus is on the eyes and I haven't played with these shadows in a very long time, so I want to make sure that if there is any fallout, it's very easy for me to correct. But I do always like to neutralize underneath the eyes so that as I'm working with blues or purples or any color, I don't get distracted by any discoloration that's happening underneath the eye. First, what I'm actually going to do is take my bronzer and I'm going to take my 201 and I'm just going to put down a little bit of shadow all over the lid and bring that up into the socket and into the crease. The 201 is nice and fluffy, so it's doing a lot of the work for you. It is a fluffy tapered brush, which means that there is a point on the end of the brush, but because it's so fluffy, it disperses that powder really, really nicely. So now that we have just a little bit of something for these blue shadows to hang on to, because I find no matter what brand it is, usually a more pigmented color or a color that isn't a skin tone, earth tone, will sometimes drag. And again, because I haven't worked with these kinds of shadows in a while, I want to make sure that everything lays down really nice. So I'm grabbing my 217 and this is such a beautiful kind of peacock palette. I'm going to start with this color because I am wearing that military green. I think that'll be a really pretty base for a smoky eye, and then we can use that darker blue to smoke out the edges. We can always grab one of these other colors if we need to for a little bit more drama. So just on the tip of my brush, and I'm really lightly touching this product. Whenever you're working with something new, it's a good idea to just be very gentle with it. You don't need to go crazy because you're just discovering it. So I'm just very lightly sweeping that shadow all over my lid. That's where I want the focus to be, and I think I'm actually going to trade my 217 for a little bit more of a denser brush because I can tell that this, if I go this method, it's going to give me a really beautiful sheer wash of color, but I want something a little bit more pigmented. So I'm going to put that off to the side and I'm going to grab my 203, same color, and I'm just going to lay that down in a denser fashion. This will also work a lot faster than going with something a little bit more fluffy like the 217. So getting right up to that lash line, and I want to take that all the way up to that socket, which is where your eyeball stops. Then you kind of connect with that bone. So I'm just really, really lightly touching the skin. This eyeshadow is spreading beautifully. Now that I have most of my lid covered, I'm going to go back in with the 217, which still has a little bit on there, And I'm just going to soften those edges because I feel like when you're working with these beautiful kind of peacock blues and greens, you really want to make sure that it's nice and soft. And I'm not going for a graphic look. I just want a really nice smoky eye. So going in again with the 203 in that same color, just very gently picking that up. I'm going to start in the center of my lid and blend out. Again, getting right up to that lash line. That's where I want it to be the most saturated, and then just really lightly bringing it all the way up to that socket again. It doesn't have to be perfect because I can use my blending brushes to create that softness. I'm just wanting to lay down some color. So 217, nothing additional on there, and just making sure that it's getting all the way up to that socket point. A blue smoky eye is so great for brown eyes. I feel like that is where you shine, my brown-eyed gals. It's going to be so great. For green eyes, it makes it almost like a smoky color on you, which is really fun. So it's very dramatic. If we would have gone with that really deep dark, that would be so great for an evening out. This is that in-between shade, so I feel like while it is still definitely date night or evening event, it's not as kapow as the darker one. I'm going to take my pencil brush and go into that really beautiful sapphire color, and I'm going to place that on the outer third of my lid just to give a little bit more depth. This definitely doesn't need a lot because it's already quite impactful. And we will be using a kohl for our lash line. I think when you go with something this dark, this different from brown or from a skin tone, you need that really nice separation between the lashes and your eyelid. But I want to keep everything really nice and soft, so that's why I'm going to go in with a Victoria Beckham kohl pencil instead of something a little bit more graphic. So just dipping in my pencil brush once more and building up that color. So your pencil brush, remember, can be kind of like a Q-tip, but it's also a really good placement brush. And what I mean by that is it's a really great brush to just place the shadow and then grab a different brush to blend out. You don't feel like you have to do the blending with the pencil. That's not really what it's for. It's for placing, it's for maybe a quick smudge, it's for picking up if you need to, but it's not really for that 217, that 201 blending that we've got because it is so dense. Now, before we add any shimmer or anything like that, I want to go in with my liner because I just want to see how that is looking on my face, and we can always come back and change and shift if we need to. So we might just kind of stop after we do the liner and let that sit on the face. Sometimes I think when you're stepping outside of the box, it's a good idea to let your eyes adjust to the difference, like whether that's a bold lip or a really bold eye, because sometimes when you're looking down and you're doing other parts of your face, once you get to the end, it makes a lot more sense than just having this really kapow eye with no other makeup on. It doesn't really make that much sense. Nothing's talking to each other as well as it will at the end. And then after you've got the rest of your makeup on, you can go back in and see if you want to add in a little bit of shimmer or maybe a little bit of that lighter blue to pop it even more or take it to that next level. So right now we're just adding in that liner. I'm going to wait on mascara to see if I do want to take it up a notch or if this is exactly what I'm thinking. Already my eye is adjusting to the smoky level of this. I don't wear a super smoky eyeshadow all the time, but I know when I do, I really like it. So it's something that I personally also have to get used to. My brain has to get used to seeing yourself in a different way. So just smudging this Kajal liner right into the roots of the lashes, and then you can always use the sponge, you can use a Q-tip just to soften it. We don't want anything too graphic with this look. Now the great thing about blue on the eyelid is that it makes the whites of your eyes pop even more. If you are having a bad day and the whites of your eyes are a little red or just not as clear as you would like, definitely do those eye drops before you put on your blue shadow because that will make a huge difference. So now we're going to take a pause and I am just going to double check to see if I have any fallout. I don't see any, so I'm going to take my finger and just pat it underneath my eye and make sure I'm kind of picking up anything, and I don't see anything, which is amazing because that is very difficult to do with these color of shadows. I am going to do my complexion. I'm going to start with my Seamless Skin from Lisa Eldridge. We are going with this rather than the skin tint because we are going bolder with the eye, and I felt if we did something a little bit more sheer, not everyone would be invited to the party. We need everyone to talk to one another, and I can sheer this out if I want to. In fact, I kind of am already, just by taking it from my hand instead of placing it on the face. That means that the brush is accepting that product a little bit more than my skin would be as if I was placing it on there directly. So I can really control how much complexion, how much foundation I'm putting on. I'm also using Lisa's brush, which blends everything out really, really beautifully. And I'm just going to tap anywhere where I feel like I need a little bit extra. If this is a red carpet moment for you, absolutely go in with maybe like a half pump more just in those areas where you need. But remember, you're also going to be doing concealer as well, which I feel like after the concealer goes on, a lot of the time I think, oh, I didn't really need all that foundation. So let's do our concealer because I'm not worried about fallout anymore. I'm going to roll that doe foot applicator onto my ring finger once again, and I'm just going to tap that in, and then I'll use Lisa's brush to blend out any edges. And if I really need to, I can use an actual concealer brush, but this is such a great shape that it fits in all the nooks and crannies of the face. But you can see just by adding that concealer, it really brightens up, and it is a nice contrast between what's going on here versus what's going on here. I have a little extra on my finger, so I'm just going to bring that through the center of my nose. This is something I've really been enjoying, probably because I've been doing more theater work lately, but it definitely makes a difference in photographs. And every time you go to rehearsal, someone is taking some kind of photograph or you're getting in character. So for that, it is very nice to just always kind of be prepared. I am feeling like I want to bring this up just a little bit for me. I feel like I need a little bit more here. If you don't have as much space, this is a great place to stop. But I'm going to go back in with my 217 into that middle shade that we started with, and I'm just going to bring that up very, very gently. I am barely touching the skin, and I'm probably going to go back in with a different brush and just make sure that all those edges are blended out. I just like, on a smoky eye, I like to bring it up onto that bone or just underneath that bone a little bit. I think it just opens up the eye a little bit more. I'm going to knock off what's on my 201, and again, there's nothing on this brush. I'm just making sure that there are no harsh edges, and I'm kind of removing some of that excess product, and see how that just softens. See the difference between this side and the side. This one is a little bit more graphic. It's a little bit more like, hey, I brought the eyeshadow up, whereas this one, it feels like it just kind of blends away, it disappears. And that is what I'm looking for. Of course, it all depends on the event that you are going to, on how you are feeling, and whatever face shape you personally have. So this sits a little bit better on my face, and I think that works really nicely. I am going to take my finger, of course, and I'm going to dip into this really beautiful shade, and I'm just going to put that on the ball of my eye just to bring attention to the center of that a little bit more, kind of round it out. This is a great trick when you feel like maybe you overdid it with the darker shadows, or you just feel like you need to lighten up. You can go with a topper, you can go with a shade that's a little bit lighter than what you put down initially, and that will really just brighten up that eye look a little bit more. So now I'm going to go in with my new obsession, which is the Tarte Mascara Primer. And I'm going to get right into the roots of the lashes. And I'm treating this just like I would a mascara. So I'm getting into the roots of the lashes, and I'm twirling my brush as I'm pulling up, and I'm making sure that I am coating. Now I'm going to go in with Tarte's Lights Camera Lashes and do the same thing, but I've already laid down this really great primer. So now my lashes are going to behave even better. They're going to be fuller, they're going to be longer, and it just makes such a huge difference. So now things are starting to come together. We need to do the brows to make sure that we are supporting what we did on the eye. So we've spent quite a bit of time on our eyes, so now we're just gonna go for it. And if you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about spending time on makeup. Whatever you are focusing on, that is where you spend your time. The rest of the face needs to be a little bit faster, and it doesn't have to be quite so perfect, because that is what makes it just a little bit more lived in and also just a little bit more realistic. We don't have a ton of time. We are busy ladies. We don't have a ton of time to do our makeup. And I mean, unless it is like your wedding day or a seriously special event, it's okay if not everything is perfectly symmetrical or just perfect in general. You look like you with a smoky eye, and that is a beautiful thing. It doesn't always have to be perfection. All right, so now let's finish the face. I'm going to use Muse gloss on my lips and also on my cheeks. Now, if you've ever put gloss on your cheeks, you know that it doesn't last super long. So just keep that in mind. This is really just kind of for effect. If you need to sheer it out, you can grab some liquid highlighter, and that will really help to turn it more into that cream blush texture and also give you just like the best glossy cheek with just a hint of something. When you go with a really dark eye, I think we can get a little too heavy here. So it's really important that not only are your lips and your cheeks talking to each other, but that they are very nice and sheer, because we have a heaviness of this. We don't want to have a heavy this unless you're doing a vamp look, which, you know, I'm totally here for. So now we are going to set with the Givenchy powder, and I'm just very quickly going to do this with my blush and powder brush and just morphing my brush to fit around my face. I love a bigger brush. I think it just gets the job done so much faster. However, if you were a client of mine, I would probably use 2 brushes unless you told me that you were okay with going a little bit faster. And then just laying any excess down on the cheek to keep that lasting just a little bit longer. And then of course finishing up with a little bit of bronzer. Sometimes again when we go heavier on the eye, it can feel like we kind of pale out in the skin, especially if you are fairer. So going in with that bronze highlight, doing a little bit of powder on that cheek also helps if you did the gloss trick on your cheeks as well. And just adding a little bit of that sun-kissed glow, adding a little bit of life back into the face. And that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching this Book Talk inspired makeup look. I think it's really fun to play with different shadows and to be inspired by more than just makeup and magazines and beauty in general. You can find inspiration from book covers like we did today, from fashion, from a conversation, from artwork. Anything can inspire you to just do your makeup a little bit different and step outside the box every once in a while. I do fashion videos every Wednesday, beauty videos every Friday. Make sure you are watching the shorts in between, because I have lots of tips and tricks to make your life a little bit easier and a little bit more glossy. And I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye!